Hey, so great to have you on my show.
Thanks for having me.
Now tell me a little bit about what you're up to right now.
Sure. Well, my name's XxII Vaughn. I write children's literature under C L Vaughn, and I write horror under Mateo Hellion. Currently, I'm working on several screenplays and children's books. I've had 3 short horror stories that were turned into audio stories on the No Sleep podcast and the Dark Tales for Dark Nights. I've had a screenplay that was turned into a short with Sarah Films. It was one of the horror haikus. And I had 6 children's books published with Me Genius.
Wow, you're remarkable.
Thank you.
Tell me a little bit about the first project you were talking about with the thing that was published.
You talking about the screenplay with Sarah Films?
Yes.
So with Sarah Films, it's a small production company in California. They do primarily horror videos, horror films. And they had a series on YouTube that they were filming called Horror Haikus, where you would write a haiku that's horror related, and then you submit a 2 to 3 page screenplay that goes with it. And out of the submissions, they would pick the winners, and the winners would have their screenplays produced into a short film.
Wow. And when did you do that?
That was about 4 years ago.
That's really exciting.
Yeah.
Wow. And tell us about the screenplay that you got to produce.
Sure. So I actually had 3.
I'm going to cut you off right here for a minute.
Sure. Yeah, so I got interested in Sarah Films, which is a small production company in California that specializes in horror type of genre. And I was watching their horror haiku series that they had on YouTube for a while. And they announced that they were going to accept submissions of people who put in horror haikus, and then you would also add a 2 to 3 page screenplay. And out of the ones that they received, they would go through them and pick out the ones that they liked the most. And I had 3 of them actually picked, but one of them was produced all the way to being done. The other 2, they ran out of money before they finished them. But the one that was produced is called Bumps in the Night. And that was based on a summer camp type of situation where this unknown beast, which is Bigfoot, kills the people who are camping there. They're basically letting people camp there as a way to sacrifice to keep the beast at bay. So, yeah.
And that's really exciting that you submitted 3 of them.
I did. Yep. I had actually, I submitted probably close to 12. 3 of the ones that I had submitted got picked, and then unfortunately only one of them actually made it all the way to production. The other ones, they ran out of money. So.
And when it was in production, did you participate at all?
No, I'm very hands-off when it comes to that. It's writing and film is all art, so a lot of it just kind of has to flow, I think, in my opinion. So I wrote the screenplay and I handed it to them, and they said, would you be okay with us tweaking a few things? I was like, run with it.
Nice. And how did you sit down and do that? What's your motivation when you sit down to write a screenplay?
So for me, I'm not one that writes, people will do like a layout and they'll do an outline and everything. I really don't do that. I just kind of go with the flow. So sometimes I'll just have a title and I'll run with it. Sometimes I'll see a news story that makes me inspired to write. Sometimes I'll have a bad dream and I'll take that and turn it into something.
Neat. Well, I'm excited about this. This is our 2nd episode.
Awesome. Thank you.
This is real exciting, XxII Vaughn, to learn about your Screen Actors Guild and all of those other credits that you've got. Tell us about how you got involved with doing that.
Sure. So the Writers Guild, they have it set up to where if you write something, you can have it register with the Writers Guild, and just gives it a little extra protection. And it also opens it up for producers and publishers to see your work.
And then how do you do that? Do you just submit it, or just...
You just submit it online. You go to the Writers Guild of California, I believe it is. And then also, whenever you have something produced, a lot of times you'll get a credit on the IMDb.
Right, IMDb.
Database, yes.
Yes. And so are you on the IMDb?
I am, under Mateo Hellion. My screenplay's on.
Okay. And now give us the name of the screenplay again.
So the screenplay on that is Bumps in the Night, which was the Sarah Films. I do have one full-length screenplay that's with a production company right now they're taking a look at, and I'm hoping that we're going to start negotiating a contract with that one.
Nice. And it's really exciting that you're on IMDb, and I will put these interviews on your site on IMDb.
Perfect.
Nice. And give us a little more information about how you submitted those to the Screen Actors Guild.
Sure. Well, with the Screen Actors Guild, you just go online and you submit it. With the screenplay that's at the production company right now being looked at, that one was through networking with mutual contacts, girlfriends, friends with the person who owns the production company, and I was able to send it to him, and he liked it.
And
so
now they're working on it. Don't give us any more.
Yeah.
We're hush-hush about that.
Yes, we're gonna look into it. So.
Good, very good. Well, thank you. It's all exciting learning about the different aspects of entertainment business.
Yeah, I found a lot of it's just networking with the right people, network with sincerity. Like for instance, the children's books I have published. How I got that published was I went to a children writers and illustrators conference in Bellevue years ago, and there was a booth set up for a brand new publishing company called Me Genius, and I had a book that was done already, the illustrations and everything done, and I met with the lady, told her everything's done, they just had to put it up on their website and put their publishing stuff, and she grabbed onto it. Instead of letting it just be that, I kept in touch with her, and every month or so I just reach out and say hi, keep it personal, and then when I eventually had her story ready, I just pitched the idea to her personally, and she took it, and now I have 6 children's books published that way.
Very nice. That's really exciting. Now, what are the name of the children's books?
So one of them is called The Hiccup Mummy, and that one's based on a mummy who gets the hiccups during Halloween, and a brother and sister try to find ways to cure the mummy's hiccups through funny ways I found online. And then I also have 5 others that were published as a part of a series called the Owen the Pirate series, and that's more for young readers, and it's based on a young boy and his sidekick, which is Muzzles, his stuffed teddy bear, and he goes on these pirate adventures throughout his house and his home and the yard and whatnot through his imagination.
And how do people read these stories?
Those ones are digital picture books, and so it's set up to where it's highlights the words as it reads so that the young reader can read along and see how the words sound in the book, help teach them read.
And where do they find it on the internet?
MeGenius.com.
Thank you. Well, we're going to stop right now. We're going to go to the next segment in a few minutes.
Perfect. All right, come closer. Let me tell you something. So I got into writing horror. Actually started with action adventure. Clive Cussler, the Dirt Pit series was what got me started writing. But then as I started writing, I found that my taste was more into the horror genre. And so I started reading more Stephen King, Clive Barker, stuff like that. And kind of went from there. So a lot of my writing is more on the supernatural side of it, or plays with how the characters interact with each other versus there being a big monster. I do have some stuff that have monsters, but then I also did write some horror for like a younger crowd, kind of like Goosebumps age levels, and with those you really have to tailor it to where it's tamed down a little bit, because you don't want a lot of blood and guts, and you're not trying to really scare the kids too much. So yeah, so I started doing the horror genre. I really enjoyed having some of my work turn into audio stories where you can kind of see the story come to life, where people's voices are added to it, they're adding sound effects, music, that sort of thing, and it really kind of brings the story to life. I really enjoyed that.
Hi, my name is Stacy, and I know Chris Vaughn. I've known him for probably about 5 or 6 years now. I was his youngest son's preschool teacher years ago. We reconnected more recently, and I learned that he was writing, and so I kind of got curious about that and started asking him if I could read some of his stuff and see some of his books and different things, and he's actually pretty modest about it, and so I've kind of just been trying to encourage him to just get himself out there more, and and so when I ran into you in town, I overheard a gentleman saying that he saw your movie, and I became very interested, because I don't believe anything happens for no reason. And so another time I walked by you, I asked you about it, and you had mentioned that you had done some work in that this arena or whatever. And so I mentioned him to you, and here we are. So
I'm really glad you did, because he's quite fascinating.
He is. And
he's wonderful.
And he doesn't really realize how fascinating. And that's the fun thing I find interesting the most about him is a lot of times he'll be writing something or talk about something, and you know, I've always heard people over the years, and I know he probably gets embarrassed when I say this, when they say they love people for their mind, and I never really understood that until I got to know Chris. And that's how I feel about him. He's got this extraordinary mind. I mean, just the way that he looks at things and the way he thinks of things is not average.
Sure. So a lot of times when I'm writing stories, I'll get them just from everyday inspiration. So maybe it's a news story, something I see out in public, an idea, whatever. For example, one story I wrote recently was called The Perching Man, and I wrote it in one sitting. It's like 20 some odd pages. It's a short story, but I got it from driving past a neighborhood that had a really run down playground, and I thought about how creepy it would be if there was a random guy kind of just perched on the playground or a bench like a bird and just staring at somebody. And for whatever reason, that idea stuck in my head, went home, and I started the story. And it's basically a story about a gentleman who his entire life sees this apparition of a man that looks kind of like a bird, and just sits there and stares at him, never says anything, nothing like that. And as the man gets older, this apparition becomes more and more prevalent in his life, kind of taking over his life. He kind of becomes a schizophrenic in a way, and in the end he decides he's going to take action and kill the thing, and he goes after to kill it, and it ends up being it's just an apparition, and he ends up killing his best friend, who was his psychiatrist. And so everybody thinks he was just crazy. They throw him in prison, but he still sees the Perching Man just sitting at the end of his bed staring at him, and it's just a very creepy idea.
Well, I think that one of Chris's first stories I read, he actually read it to me, was called The Man Below Lake Union. A couple of things I really liked about it is that it was written locally. So the different stuff that he related to in the story was stuff that I was familiar with in our community and in our area, which made it very interesting. And I thought it was well written. For me, it's hard to imagine someone just sitting down and writing it, because I'm not a writer.
So one of the first stories I wrote, which really kind of gave me the writing bug, was after I was reading Clive Cussler's series, I found that there was a fan forum online where people would write fan fiction, basically, where they would write stories based on Clive Cussler's characters that he made. And so I had wrote one, and people really, really liked it, and so I decided to take it off the forum and put my own characters' names into it and change a few things. And that became The Man Beneath Lake Union. And it's an action-adventure short micro story where mysterious boats are getting sunk and whatnot in Lake Union, and it turns out there's an underwater base in Lake Union. There's genetic testing going on, all this kind of stuff. Crazy things happen, but it was fun because it was done in the Seattle area. So all the street names, all the car chases, boat chases, all that kind of stuff happens in areas in Seattle where you can literally look on a map and see, oh, that's where this chase happened. So when you're writing about kids age 4, one of the things that you try to do, or at least what I try and do, is focus some part of the story that is a very common thing that kids tend to get scared about. So for example, I have a story called Mom's Mean French Toast, and one of the key things that makes that story scary is that it's the first time the kids left home alone. And the mom goes to the grocery store. Of course, there happens to be a thunder and lightning storm at the same time, and lightning strikes the house, which zaps the microwave and turns Mom's French Toast into a live monster who chases them around the kitchen.
Good.
So one of the other projects I have going on right now, where it'll be the first one where I'm going to try and do the illustrating myself, is called What If We Served Traffic Jam on Toast? And it's going to be a picture book where a young boy is on his way to school, and he starts daydreaming about being stuck in traffic in the school bus, and it turns into traffic jam as the literal sense of all the traffic's covered in jam and all these funny things are going on his way to school. So one of the things that's great about the Kirkland area near the waterfront is it's a very inspirational place to be if you're looking for ideas to write about. There's music, the boats, the activity on the beach, all the people watching you could do. And there's some really great restaurants and places to go as well. Hey Stacy, wanna go to dinner? I think before we go to dinner though, we're gonna go to our buddy's place, Coffee and Cone, and get a coffee.
Ooh, that sounds good. Yes. He's not working.
Thank you guys very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And the nice thing about it is, my film is called I Need Me Film, and it's about a filmmaker making a film. And if you hadn't come up and talked to me, I wouldn't have known that he's a wonderful, wonderful screenwriter. And I loved this interview. So thank you for being on my show, Public Interest Issue Show. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Can't wait till next time.